What's up, guys? In this video, John Porini from leadcapture.io has been kind enough to share his infinite wisdom on how to create high converting lead generation funnels. He's going to give you 9 tips that he has learned from observing 3.2 million in traffic over the years. So you're going to want to sit down, get your notepad ready, and listen to this guy because he's the GOAT of funnels. That's why we recommend Lead Capture, because they're simply the best quiz software out there. You can use the link in the description to get a special discount for Lead Capture below. Again, it's simply the best. We've tested it. It converts better than anything else that we've used. So you're going to want to check that out. You can also join Leadbase Pro, which John is in, by the way. You can actually chat with him directly on the feed in Leadbase Pro for just $99 a month. We have a lot of pros in there who are, people generating hundreds of leads per day to founders of awesome software like John. So you can check that out. $99 a month, cancel anytime. Without further ado, I'll stop talking. Let's pass it over to John. This video is going to be really helpful, so I hope you guys are paying attention.
Over at leadcapture.io, we analyzed over 3.2 million qualified leads from tens of millions of ad clicks. Now to uncover what's actually working in lead generation right now. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down the 9 proven tactics behind the highest converting lead funnels so you can increase conversions and get more qualified leads based on what we learned after running our analysis. So if you're running paid ads across Meta, Google, TikTok, or any other type of performance channel, you're going to want to watch this video. And here's my little bribe. If you stick around until the end, I'll show you the #1 landing page layout that converts the best on cold traffic right now. Now, before we dive into it, just a quick note. None of what I'm about to show you is theory. For those of you who don't know me, my name's John, and I'm the founder of leadcapture.io. Lead Capture helps lead sellers, lead generators, performance marketers, basically anyone who needs qualified leads, to capture highly qualified leads using lead funnels, lead quizzes, lead forms, multi-step forms, whatever you want to call it. Everything that I'm sharing with you today is based on what's working for the top 10% of lead gen companies and performance marketers using our platform. So I know you're busy. I know you've got a lot to do. Let's just dive right into things here. Thing #1, the highest converting funnels do a really good job of having congruence and message match between the lead funnel headline and the ad headline. So what do I mean by that? Well, when it comes to conversions, I always like to say that relevance is everything. In fact, there's this agency out there called Wider Funnels, and they created this concept called the LIT model. Now, the LIT model is a 6-point CRO framework designed to help you evaluate experiences from the perspective of your visitor to help boost conversions. The idea is it puts you in the mind of the person who's actually looking at your pages and looking at your funnel. I highly recommend checking it out. Now, relevance is one of the key conversion factors in this framework. And relevance simply means how closely your landing page funnel aligns with your prospect's goals, and especially how consistent it is with the ad that brought them in. Now, I've personally noticed that the best funnels have tight message continuity between the ad and the landing page that the prospect is looking at. For example, if your ad promotes VA home loans, your landing page should also say something about VA home loans, ideally at the top. For example, you should have some sort of simple image that ties back to the ad and back to the message, and then carry that messaging and those concepts through the rest of the steps within your funnel. Well, that seems like a no-brainer, right? Well, you'd be surprised with how many people don't actually do this. And I think that's a huge miss, because the moment that somebody lands on your page, you want them to instantly think, I'm in the right place. And you get them to think that by creating a funnel that's highly relevant to the ad that they clicked on. That's the mindset that you want your prospects in. Moving on to thing #2, place your form or your quiz above the fold, especially on mobile. Now, at this point, the ad has already sold the prospect on clicking through, and hopefully you built some trust in the ad. And when the prospect lands on your page, you want them to not only understand that they're in the right place, but to also see some proof that you're the one that can help them. And then you want them to begin taking action. What we see when we look at the top 10% of lead generators is that they focus on removing as much friction as possible, because any added friction results in hesitation or confusion, and hesitation and confusion leads to a conversion loss. This is one of the most apparent themes in all of my research and all of my observation when looking at thousands of funnels across the Lead Capture.io platform. The highest converting funnels keep their lead form or quiz front and center and above the fold. And you'd be shocked by how many people bury their forms and their quizzes and their funnels below paragraphs of copy or images, forcing their prospect to go looking for it. Don't do that. You do not want your prospects to have to play seek and find. And keep in mind that so much traffic is mobile these days, especially if you're driving traffic from Meta ads. Simple layouts with short headlines and repeatable CTAs almost always convert higher. And here's a quick bonus tip on your mobile view. Images can often push your form or quiz below the fold, while on desktop it may not look that way. So make sure you check mobile and stack your forms and quizzes above the images. So that's the first thing that the prospect sees when they land on your page. Moving to thing #3, make an irresistible offer and do it early, as soon as possible. I get asked all the time to review lead funnels. And when people ask me to review their lead funnels, especially when they're struggling, 9 out of 10 times, I can tie their results back to the funnel simply having a weak offer. Now, here's the thing about that. A weak or even an average offer will drive weak or average results. As Alex Hormozy says, make an offer so good that people feel stupid saying no. So ask yourself, what's something my prospect can't say no to? And if you can't think of something irresistible, at least make it interesting. Please don't make it boring. Don't say get a quote. Don't say get a consultation. Make it interesting. Here are some examples. If you're in the real estate space, maybe you're an agent or generating leads for agents, you could say, find out your home's value. I love that. If you're in mortgage, maybe generating refi leads, you could say, see how much equity you could tap into. If you're in solar, you could say, discover how much you could save by switching to solar. We see that one works extremely well. If you're in the legal space and you're generating MBA leads, you could say something like, see what your compensation could be today. That is one of the most proven offers that I've seen across lead capture. It's been running for over 5 years and has generated millions of leads. And by the way, you don't even have to reinvent the wheel here. You can find tons of amazing offers simply by searching Facebook's meta ad library and looking what your competitors are up to. Or go and type your main keywords into Google and see what paid search ads your competitors are running. There's definitely no shortage of ideas out there. While we're on the topic of offers, let's move to tip number 4. Thread your offer through the funnel, especially at the contact step before you ask for the contact details. Now, this is one of those no-brainer conversion copywriting tactics that few people actually think about, especially when it comes to lead quizzes and funnels like we're talking about. Once you have a strong offer, please don't let it disappear at the middle or end stages of your funnel. We see that the best lead funnels reinforce the offer every step of the way, especially before asking for contact info. For example, instead of saying something like, enter your contact details, or what's your name and email, you could say, enter your details to see how much compensation you qualify for. The framework here is enter your details to get the thing you're offering. That simple tweak alone can double conversion rates. And I know this because I personally have tested this with countless lead generators on lead capture, and we've seen it happen time and time again. And I think that's a good segue into tip number 5. Use conversion-focused microcopy throughout your high-friction fields. I always like to say that not all questions are created equal. This is very clear in the data. You have low-friction and high-friction questions. Low-friction questions are questions like, what's your zip code? What type of property do you own? Were you injured in an auto accident? Yes or no? But then you have high-friction questions. These are questions like phone number, first name, last name, email, home address, and the list goes on. These high-friction fields cause drop-offs because prospects hesitate to share their personal information, especially now more than ever. In fact, there's this study that I was reading by this company called, I think, Attest, and they said that something like, I forget the exact stat, it was like 84% of Americans are concerned about their data privacy, especially when they interact with a brand that they do not know. And in your case, many people are seeing you for the first time. You can put all the trust on your landing pages that you want, but they're still seeing you for the first time and they're going in skeptical. And this means that the copy throughout your pages and your lead funnels needs to do that much more work. So what we see working very well over at Lead Capture is using bits of text near those fields to reduce anxiety and keep the momentum going. I personally like to call this teaser text, and that's actually what we named the feature inside of Lead Capture. First, you can explain what happens next. For example, we'll show you your results on the next screen. We'll show you your results instantly. Number 2, reassure privacy. You could say something like, your info is secure and never shared. Number 3, you could add social proof. For example, trusted by 250,000 plus homeowners, but please, please, please use real, authentic social proof. Number 4, build curiosity or keep momentum going. For example, we've seen this work really well. Enter your information to save your progress. That last one alone, saying enter your information to save your progress, as tiny teaser text, has boosted conversions by 2.5x in some of our tests. Tip number 6, the highest converting funnels that we see start with low friction questions, then increase the ask. Now put yourself in the shoes of your prospect for a second. Just imagine that they're scrolling through Facebook, they're half distracted, maybe they have kids hanging on them as they're trying to get work done, that's my life. Or maybe they have their dog barking at the door needing to go out. Then they see your ad, they get curious and click. Now if your first question immediately leads with a bunch of form fields, like full name, address, phone number, then forget it. They're probably going to leave. Now, I'm not saying people won't actually stop and fill out a long form like that with all those fields loaded up front, but we tend to see that just doesn't work as well, especially when you're driving cold prospects who don't even know you from meta ads. Instead, here's what works better. Start easy. Start with low friction questions. Ask simple, engaging questions first, like what's your zip code? Or what are your goals? And gradually build to more personal questions. Now, I'm not making this up. This idea has been around for years. I just happen to build a whole business around it. But you have people out there like Jonathan Dane, who runs a popular agency called Client Boost, and he coined this as the breadcrumb technique. I've always liked that name. I personally like to call it progressive profiling, because you're progressively increasing the ask while profiling your prospect to see if they're a good fit, because it's not always about volume. It's about getting highly qualified leads. And then if they're not a good fit, you DQ them and send them somewhere else. If they are a good fit, then you go in for their contact details. And here's the thing. This is not only a great way to warm up your prospects and get them engaged, but for you psychology and Star Wars buffs out there, this is where you can start to deploy Jedi-like mind tricks that you can't typically do with just a boring single-step form. For example, some of the best funnels that I see, like this Ethos life insurance funnel, start with outcome-based questions. Like, what are your financial goals? And they do this before ever asking for contact info. Now, let's just stop for a second and think about what this does. It gets the prospect thinking about what they want on the other side of the form. It skews the value to be more towards the prospect than you, the person asking for their information. And this gives the prospect a reason to take action, because now they're going from this mindset of, this company wants my information, to, I need to fill out this form to achieve, insert whatever goal it is. And the funnels that are converting the highest are doing things like this. They're asking simple, engaging questions up front, but also getting the prospect thinking a little bit and building that desire. Let's move on to the 7th tip. We see that the highest converting funnels use features like autofill and data enrichment to reduce friction. So this one's simple, but it's also huge, because if you make it easy for people to complete your form fields, then you're going to see an increase in conversions. So you should be doing the basics, like enabling browser autofill for name, email, and phone fields. I've seen that lift conversions by up to 60%, rather than just requiring people to type it in. Now, here's a key one for anyone in home services, solar, mortgage, the list goes on. If you're collecting address info, like a home address, take it a step further by using address autocomplete. There's all different ways to do this. It's literally a night and day difference between auto-completing an address and requiring someone to manually type it in. In fact, personally, I would never ask a prospect to input their address without some sort of autocomplete feature. Because when you do that, there's two issues. First, open-ended address fields have an abysmal conversion rate. We've seen conversions just absolutely tank when you ask someone to enter their address without autofilling it. And the second reason, if you allow your prospects to enter whatever they want into the address field, you're going to deal with data inconsistency. And data consistency issues make it harder to get your data into your CRM or your lead distribution tools. Leads may even fail to post. So you want to make sure you're getting consistent data across the board. Tip number 8, add radio icons to your buttons. Now this one shocked me. A while back, we launched a simple UI update to allow buttons to have these little radio icon circles. And we found that adding radio icons next to the button options, especially when they're left aligned, can often double click-through rates of funnel steps. And I think there's a reason for this. I think it's because it's a small visual cue that makes the button look more interactive. It basically says, hey, click me. People expect to see something like that. So we found that adding those little icons makes a big difference. And if you're using lead capture, it's just simply a flip of a switch to enable them on your buttons. Last but not least, tip number 9, I'm going to reveal, based on all of the data over at lead capture, what's working the best in terms of landing pages. Because this is where I see a lot of people get hung up. And I would summarize this tip as, keep your landing page stupidly simple. What I'm seeing is that in lead gen, especially B2C lead gen, there's kind of like a formula to this that's working. And the number one landing page layout is like this. It's a headline with a strong offer like we talked about, and then maybe just 1 to 2 lines of some sort of descriptive text that explains the offer a bit, and then a fast loading lead quiz, lead funnel, and then some social proof below it. That's literally it. And of course, your compliance text. Now, I personally like to call these lead funnels. And across the board, of the top 10% of lead generators who are using lead capture, we see that they're using layouts like that. Now, sometimes there's some slight differences. Sometimes there's a picture of a person at the top, because that helps build trust by showing who's on the other side of the funnel. But generally speaking, we see that's the exact formula. But I think we kind of have to stop and ask ourselves, why does this work to begin with? Because these pages don't have fancy design. And it's not the design that converts. It's all the stuff we talked about in this video. It's the clarity, the relevance, the speed, the trust, and the strong offer, and all these little micro, subtle adjustments to every single step. All of these things come together to lift the conversion rate. And I think that's why such a consistent pattern has emerged with how these pages are laid out. That wraps up this video. There's definitely a tip or two in here that if you implement today, I could almost guarantee you that you'll see some sort of a conversion lift with lead quality improvement. If you found this video helpful, please hit subscribe. There's plenty of additional content to share. Have a nice day.